Welcome to the CEO Lawyer Podcast, where we talk about law, life, and business. I'm your host, Ali Awad, with my co-host, Yusuf Kroma. And today, we're going to talk about hiring and firing. So Yusuf wrote down a quote just recently. I guess you heard it when I was doing a consultation with an attorney, or
Yes.
Well, what was the context of that? You wrote down the quote. Say the quote and tell me if you remember the context. Let's have a discussion.
So the quote is, you have to be strategic about how you hire and how you fire people. And we were talking about how to create a bulletproof firm. So when you hire the right people, how do you scale up with employees? And in the event that you do have to fire, make sure that you leave off on a good note.
Yeah.
That you don't fire people and they're ready to fight you, or they're ready to leave you a horrible Google review, but you leave on a good note.
Now, I would be lying if I said that I didn't have employees that left with the possibility of throwing fisticuffs.
Yes.
We definitely had some very obnoxious exits, but I got better. I got better at hiring people. I got better at firing people. But here's the biggest thing. Hiring is guessing and firing is knowing. When you're hiring someone, you're hoping that they're going to be a good fit. You're hoping that their work ethic matches their charisma. You're hoping that their experience is real experience, not 1 year repeated 10 times, but 10 actual years of experience. So this is a great topic because just in the past 48 hours, I've extended 5 job offers and I had 2 people quit. So we're kind of at a +3 right now. Here's what I've noticed when hiring. You never really know when someone is going to be a good fit. You never really know. You can always have a feeling. Your gut can tell you. But I always like to look for the people that are going to fight for it a little bit. Like when I ask you, and I have this question in all of my interviews, the question is, why do you want to work here? And I'm looking for an answer that shows that they're going to add value to the organization from their experience, not so much, hey, you already have this going on and I think I would benefit a lot.
Sure,
Yeah. So I'm looking for someone that actually wants to provide some value to the organization. But also, when I'm looking for the right candidate, I want someone that's honest. I want someone that's confident but is willing to admit when they're wrong. And I really want someone that that gives me the impression they're going to last with me for the next 5-10 years. I don't mind when people come in for a year, 2 years, and like a revolving door. It's just turnover is very expensive. So sometimes I've given people jobs on the spot just because they said something that resonated with me. Sometimes when they stand up and say, no, you're actually wrong. Here's how I am. It was enough for me to say, all right, when do you want to start? Hiring is guessing. You can employ all these different tests, these personality tests and assessments. You can have them do these exams to determine their skill level. But honestly, we're in a society right now where it's not a hire slow, fire fast. It's a hire fast, fire faster. People have a lot of opportunities now because the job market is wide open. A lot of jobs went away with the pandemic. So a lot of new jobs are coming in, different jobs to replace those old jobs. And people are getting more picky. So some people can apply to 10 different businesses, 10 different law firms, and have 6 job offers waiting for them. And if you find that exceptional candidate, you really need to jump on it. We're no longer in a situation where you can spend 2 months to figure out whether you want to hire a candidate or not. Maybe for these high-level, exceptional people, the organizational CEO, COO roles, that's a little different. Those roles can take a long time to fill. But for day-to-day operations, you need to hire fast. That's just what I found. And I would rather hire someone quickly, see how they fit. And as the organization evolves, my people that have been with me for a while actually squeeze out the bad apples. So whenever someone quits, I'm never disappointed. I'm never like, oh man, that was a great person. Oh, we messed up. We did something wrong. And I never, ever try to convince that person to stay.
Okay, so I have something for you. Speaking of hiring and firing fast, there was a CEO that recently fired several hundred employees on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And they brought him back because they believed that he was effective in his role. How would you handle such a situation?
Well, look, I think that CEO did a poor job of setting the expectations for his employees. If you have to get rid of 300 or 400 employees, because I watched that Zoom call, I watched that recording, and it was really a sugar-coated way of saying you guys were not doing good performance.
Sure.
He should have set the performance standards from the get-go. We actually did that recently at the top of the year. January 2nd or 3rd, 2022, I had a meeting with everyone. I said, look, paralegals, you're required to draft 5 demands, generate 5 disbursement sheets. Your case managers are required to get 5 Google reviews, and you have to identify 1 case to transfer into litigation every single week. Those are going to be your requirements. Now, if you don't do it for 1 week, that's okay. At least we can know where your numbers are at, and we can readjust and figure out where the problem is. After 2 weeks, okay, we're going to have a letter of concern issued. Hey, there's a problem. You're not meeting your expectations. After 3 weeks, you get a formal warning. After 4 weeks, we're going to have a serious conversation about your job. After I did that, some people started quitting. Some people started saying, this is a little too aggressive. It's a little too much work. And that's okay, because I'm not running an ordinary organization. I'm running an extraordinary organization. And that means I need extraordinary people. And so I never sugarcoat the expectations. And we had this conversation, you and I, just last week.
Sure.
I told you, Yusuf, man, when I call you at 8 a.m., I expect you to pick up the phone. You know, like, there are very few people that I call personally. And if I'm calling you, I want you to pick up the phone, man. And we had a serious heart-to-heart conversation. I think that was a very important conversation to have, because now you see the type of person that I am and what I was willing to do. That CEO did not do that. He did not have a conversation with his people. He did not have a good strategy for telling them what their standards are. Here are your expectations. And that's why he had to get rid of 300-400 people right before Christmas, arguing and sugarcoating that, oh, you know, we have to do some cutbacks, we have to do some things. No. The truth is, if your employees are profitable, there's no reason to let go of them. There's no reason. But it's your responsibility as the CEO, as the business owner, to set those expectations for your employees. And if they don't meet those expectations, you have a clear digression that shows, okay, well, you're going this way. Here's the path that you're going towards termination. Letter of concern, formal warning, termination. That's how it goes. Okay? He didn't do that. It was a lazy way of getting rid of his people. It was a lazy way of saying, I don't want to do the work to get rid of all of you guys the right way, so I'm just going to call it cutbacks, give you 2-3 weeks of severance package, and just move on. You know, there's these companies that I know that automatically fire their bottom 10%. And I thought about that. Like, why would you get rid of like your bottom 10% of people? Like, what if everyone is exceptional and everyone is phenomenal and you just force the bottom 10 out? The truth is, you don't end up in the bottom 10% of your class by accident. You did it intentionally. Whether you intentionally decided to go out with your friends that one night preparing for the exam, whether you didn't read the books, whether you didn't do the school project, whatever it was, the same thing applies in work. So the expectations, if 90% of people can meet the expectations that you set forth, those 10% are just choosing to not do the job. So you don't fire your 10% automatically because they're in the bottom 10%. You fire them because they chose to be in the bottom 10%. And if I give you all of the tools and resources to advance, to get better, to get all the training that you need, and you still end up in the bottom 10%, you don't deserve to be here. And so we don't have that rule set in stone, like bottom 10% are going to leave. We kind of just let them leave on their own. So sometimes it's addition by subtraction. Sometimes you get rid of people or they quit and everything gets easier. Like, you get more relaxed. Like, when someone leaves your organization, your company, and business is better, it's like, what was I doing? This person is a cancer. And the way I see it, when you have a bad employee, they're like a cancer. And when you have that cancerous part of your body, you have to cut it out. If you have a tumor that's cancerous, you have to cut it out before it metastasizes. This is an organization. You have all of these different organs in your body. If you have to cut a piece of your organs out to keep it from infecting the rest of the organs in your body, the organization, you have to do that before it metastasizes. And most bosses, most CEOs wait way too long to cut that arm off, to remove that tumor, to remove that cancerous person from their organization, because they think things are going to get better. When you see a cancer, you have to get rid of it. That's why hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. When you see a cancer, you need to get rid of it. When there's smoke, there's always a fire behind it. Move fast, make that decision, and trust me, it will open up the other opportunities. It'll open up the other doors. Here's what happened. One of the people that quit this week was a very, very smart paralegal. She really knew her stuff. She had like 10, 15 years experience. She used to train all these other law firms around here. Like she was cream of the crop in terms of experience, but she had a bad attitude. Like she gave me the perception and gave off the vibe that like, you know what? I don't need to be here because like I already know all this stuff. There's nothing new that you can teach me. And even when I was on a call with her as a three-way call with a client, she was condescending and disrespectful to the client while I was on the call. I'm like, if you have the audacity to speak to a client like that while I'm on the phone, I can't imagine what's happening behind the scenes. So when she put in her resignation, and she gave me 4 days instead of 2 weeks like you're supposed to do in a professional setting, first that automatically told me, all right, you've probably already been interviewing with other firms. You already had a job lined up. You waited to take a week off because we give unlimited paid time off. You waited to do that week off and then decided to give me a 4-day notice. And you did it at the exact moment when we instituted these new policies for what your expectations are. So what does all of that tell me? That was a bad hire. I hired this person based off of their skills instead of their personality. So we usually hire people because of their skills, because of their charisma, because of what we think is going to be their work ethic, but they usually end up leaving because of their personality, because they don't fit within the team culture, within the environment. And a lot of times they're not just lazy people. We do have some lazy people, but a lot of times they just feel entitled, like they shouldn't be here, like they're too good for it. And those are people that just don't fit in the organization. But I take that as my responsibility. I should have set a higher expectation from day one. I should have told her, hey, here's how we work. Here's what it's like. And so whenever I do an interview, I let people know this is not going to be an easy job. You know, I don't want you to come in here and then 2 weeks in have to quit because it's too overwhelming. And it happens all the time. But I didn't try to convince her to stay. I didn't even bother sending her an email back. It's like, okay, you resigned, whatever. There's an exit interview, go do your thing. But what did end up happening? Right after she resigned, I talked to my HR director. Hey, look, we need some paralegals to fill this role. Okay, well, I have interviews set up for the next 2 weeks for you. No, clear out my schedule for tomorrow afternoon. I did 5 interviews back to back, hired 3 people on the spot. One of them starting this Friday before this person leaves, another one starting Monday, another one in 2 weeks. So when one door closes, it forces you to look for other doors. So when an employee leaves, it's not a bad thing. It's the end of something, but it gives you the opportunity to pursue something else, something better. That's why you should never chase after an employee that decides to leave.
All right, so typically you find CEOs that have high IQs, they have a good business acumen, a good feel for numbers, but it's very seldom do you find CEOs that have a high IQ and high EQ as well, have a social intelligence, know how to understand people, how to deal with relationships. So how do you find balance between being very intelligible, having a strong business acumen, but at the same time being relatable to employees, dealing with them on an everyday basis, knowing that they do have backstories, they have their personal lives and things? How do you find a balance between those two?
You know, I don't have the answer that's going to fit for everyone, but I will tell you that because I worked as an attorney for about 14 months right out of law school, and I learned what it was like to be an employee, to be an associate, to be someone's piss on, right? And to go through that process of a very low salary, not being treated very well, have things thrown on you without proper training, I realized doing that job taught me how to not treat employees. And I'm really thankful for that opportunity because those 14 months taught me how to be a good boss by seeing someone that was not, you know? And so I think everyone, if you want to have your own business, you really should go work for someone first. If it's a great boss and it's someone that you really admire and you look up to, you might end up figuring out a way to become partners. You know, you grow in the organization, you get a piece of it, and everyone is happy. If it's a bad boss, well, you learn how to not treat people. It's a win-win. Bottom line is you got to get that experience first. So I can't speak on everyone in the totality of circumstances, but I can tell you that getting experience working at a small business to learn the ins and outs is what helped me learn how to treat people properly. And as a general rule, like, you should keep your finger on the pulse with your employees' pay. Understand that not everyone's finances are the same. Some people rely on that check to hit their account every other Thursday because they have bills that come out on Friday. So if something happens with payroll, you need to take ownership of it right away and say, hey guys, look, something's wrong with payroll. You know, I wasn't able to get this. I don't have all the money right now, whatever the case may be. If anyone needs money right now, let me know personally in a private message. Okay, so taking ownership of that. People hate it when you mess with their pay. And that seems like common sense. But a lot of bosses mess that up because they think, okay, well, I'm on salary. I'm financially stable. I don't have to worry about it. I don't need my paycheck for another 2 to 4 weeks. Well, 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Sure.
So it really requires some self-reflection. And it's just like, having that experience and like being hungry and being mistreated and learning that, man, no matter what, I would have stayed with that guy. Like, I would have stayed working at that firm if he would have treated me well. I would not have my law firm today, most likely. But because he mistreated me, I decided, well, there's got to be something better than this, And now, when I was getting paid as an attorney, as an associate attorney with a doctorate in law and a master's in business, now is that salary that he was paying me is now lower than any employee's salary in my entire organization. I made sure that everyone that joined my organization gets paid at least more than I was getting paid as an associate attorney. Because I'm like, that's where it starts. You attract people with money, but you keep them with culture.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I remember one of the first things you called me on an interview, you told me was that entrepreneurs make the worst employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had an entrepreneurial mindset your entire life. So how was that like transitioning from being your own CEO, being your own boss, to working from someone, then getting pissed on, as you said, and then going back to being the CEO that you've always been?
So are you saying like I probably was a bad employee? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. But the thing is, man, like it's because I can figure out ways to get things done outside of how you've always been getting them done.
Yeah.
The reason I say entrepreneurs are bad employees is because they're never focused on the job at hand. They'll come and work for you for like 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, but then as soon as they get off the clock, they're gonna go do this other gig. On the weekends, they're flying out of town to go do something. So their mind is never focused. And what ends up happening is that 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, you have their body, but you don't have their mind. That's why entrepreneurs make bad employees. Now, unless you can figure out a way to partner with them and say, look, let me see what you're doing. Let me help you with this other business. Let's have an honest conversation and be candid about your expectations and where I would like to take this business and where we can work together. And the entrepreneur decides, yes, okay, I agree, I'm going to do it. And they give you their heart, they give you their mind, then it's going to work. But for the most part, I've done a very bad job of hiring entrepreneurs because my track record shows that they usually don't end up lasting.
I'm thinking about that question because what would have happened if he would have taken that ability of you being able to recognize the system, and you do it very well, by the way, and within a matter of minutes, reframing that, reshaping that, and finding a better way of doing that, to use that as an asset. It's a great asset to have. Somebody can move up as a COO, whatever the case may be, but I don't think that having an entrepreneurial trait necessarily makes a bad employee, knowing how to utilize that trait, utilize that skill, and maximizing it.
I think that entrepreneurs are looking for innovation. They're looking for novelty, newness, freshness, and being stuck in the same role over and over again every single day gets them bored and gets them to lose their passion, lose that drive, lose that fire. And if you do decide to hire an entrepreneur as an employee, make sure that they are not bored. They will continue to thrive as long as you have different things for them to do all the time. So you can teach them to systematize that mindset, to put processes in place for how you structure the conversations with people, how you onboard new clients, or a better way to manage cases, manage customers, manage files. But you have to keep them excited. You have to keep them going. And so as a business owner, I don't always have positions that are gonna continue to change every single day. Like I know for certain roles, here's what you're gonna do every single day. Are you cool with that? Or do you want to, continue to change? So I have some people in my organization that are looking to grow and looking to expand, but most of the people in my organization are really just looking for a solid job, a career that they can actually enjoy and learn and continue to develop into. They're not looking to change course all the time. If I dropped a completely new task, a completely new obligation on my team, half of them would probably leave.
Yeah, sure.
They're like, look, man, I'm gotten so good at this. Like, this is what I do all day, every day, and I really love my job. And now you're forcing me to do something else? Unless it's out of necessity or urgency or it's immediate danger to the organization and we have to get them to switch, those people have the personality to stay in that role and evolve in that role. Entrepreneurs want to evolve in everything.
Yeah, sure.
They want to become great salespeople. They want to become great WordPress and copywriters. They want to become great social media people. They want to do a little bit of video editing, a little bit of graphic design, a little bit of traveling, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
That makes for a bad employee. You know how they say a jack of all trades is a master of none?
Yeah.
But a jack of all trades is still better than a master of one.
Ooh,
You know?
okay, gems.
You know what I'm saying? That's the actual quote.
Yeah.
People only quote the first part, but that's the whole quote. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but a jack of all trades is still better than a master of one.
Okay, I never
You know
heard
what I
that
mean?
end of the quote.
So you could be a one-trick pony, and that's all you know how to do. But the moment a new issue pops up, a new diversion or some problem that you're not able to face, or a variable that you're uncomfortable with, you don't know how to handle it. So I like having people that have a little bit of diversified experience, but for the most part, you want to focus on that one path and just continue to refine it. Entrepreneurs usually don't do that. They're sporadic and, all over the place.
I would even argue that some of those same qualities that make for a bad employee would also make for a bad entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, you have creative capabilities, you're, broad thinking, but also having the ability for day-to-day discipline, for day-to-day consistency. A lot of entrepreneurs don't have that. So even in their businesses or their CEO minds, they're unsuccessful. So I think if somebody could balance those two, be a good employee, understand what it means to be a good employee, how to treat good employees, systematizing rules, setting expectations, that will go very far away in the world of entrepreneurship as well.
I could see that argument, but I don't think you have to be a great employee to be a great entrepreneur. I think there's an inverse correlation. I actually think entrepreneurs usually make bad employees unless the business owner puts them in a position where they have their entrepreneurial tendencies to flourish in that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess it depends on the business. It depends on the industry. Like if you were an independent contractor, you came into the organization, I'm like, hey, look, I want you to handle this specific project. It's all yours. You can make as much money as you want and you love it. Then an entrepreneur is going to thrive in that. You build your own team, you build your systems, your operations, and you kind of just run an entire branch. That's great. But I do think that if you're an employee and you're a very, very good employee, that's because you're good at usually one aspect of the job. An entrepreneur is usually good at all of the things.
I remember something that you quoted. You said that if I wanted to, I could buy a Lamborghini every day for the rest of the year if I wanted to, but I'd rather take that money, invest it back into my company, invest it back into my employees. So could we talk a bit about the importance of ROI versus ROI?
So I think that's a good topic for the next podcast.
Okay.
It's not every single day. It'd have to be every single month.
Every month? Okay.
Yeah, because that's 300 grand a day. That's a lot of money. I'm saying I ain't there yet. But no, to give you a little teaser, I realized over time that my business, the law firm, is not for me. It's for my employees. It's for my staff. It's for my team. Because they're the ones that are really building it for me. Like I get it to a certain point, but then you need people to get you farther along. So I make sure that my team has strong salaries where they can grow every single year. We want to improve our benefits plans, health insurance, life insurance, 401k, short-term disability, like all these. We want those things for our teams. And we want them to feel comfortable. Like not only are you set, but your family is set. And like you can look to me as a confidant. Like you can trust in me in whatever you need. I can connect you if you need medical care, you need legal help, you're trying to buy a house, you're trying to get furniture for the low, you need your car fixed, whatever it is. I have connections. My Rolodex, my contacts, my connections are all yours, And so you'd be selfish if you were just using the money that you were making from the business, just scraping it off the top and putting it in your pocket, or just going and driving a new car, because honestly, you have to do it to realize that it's not really fun. Like you're excited for like 5-10 minutes and then you're like, all right, cool, I got the car, now what? You know what I mean? You get more excitement from getting other people to elevate, other people to grow. But I think the next topic should definitely be how to start building your marketing machine and why reinvesting in your business is the smart move. I have a lot of different philosophies on investing and growing your business. But I definitely wanted to keep this on hiring and firing. What you got any more questions on the hiring and firing?
I do. If you do get to that fatal moment where you have to fire someone, what is your protocol? How do you deal with them? Are you sending them away a firing party?
No, I don't do firing parties. If someone is quitting to start a new business or a new opportunity or moving to another city, another state, another country, and they can no longer do their work here, then yeah, like we're going to celebrate the time and the energy that they gave to the organization. But if we have to fire someone, I try to make it a win-win. Like, hey man, look, it's not really working out. We've discussed this over and over again. It's just not a good fit. I'm happy to give you a severance package or, write you a letter of recommendation, set you up with another job, but it's just not going to work here anymore. I try to end on good terms. Sometimes it doesn't work. You try your best, but that's it. But I try to not burn any bridges. When that fatal moment does come, if in your gut, you know that you have to get rid of an employee, you know that you have to fire this person, it's better to just rip that Band-Aid off. But be strategic. If that employee is intertwined with a lot of other clients or a lot of other employees or has private access to company files and company data that could be jeopardized because you rip that person out, you have to be strategic. And that's why we always double hire for every single position in our firm. There's always 2 people that can handle that position. And if there's only 1 person in that position, usually the second person that can handle it is me to jump in and take that role. But a very healthy organization has systematic redundancy built in. You have to have strategic people in place to be able to do the same job as someone else because people get sick, people get COVID, people go out of town, people have deaths and family emergencies and things like that. So you have to make sure that the business still runs. And so that's a whole nother conversation, making sure that you're making enough money to afford that redundancy. But redundancy is better than vulnerability.
Excellent.
That's our show. Yeah, hiring and firing, baby. All right. That is our show for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the CEO Lawyer Podcast, where we talk about law, life, and business. Stay tuned for the next episode where we are going to go deep into my marketing strategy and why investing in your business is always the right move. I'm Ali Awad, the CEO Lawyer.
And I'm your co-host, Yusuf Kroma.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.